Except you're wearing a white shirt.
There you go.
I was going to say, Bill and Teddy are hard at it.
Put a quarter in that.
I can already tell.
A smiling young man in a radio shirt and a plexiglass tank. I grew up outside of a place called Playland, which is a famous Art Deco amusement park.
Right.
And there, and
Right.
actually they had Zoltan. I remember Zoltan.
Wow. They used to have this thing. Did you ever see that thing in Chinatown where you put a quarter in and they would electrify? There was a chicken in the thing, and it was like, we want to see the chicken dance. This is like, this is in the 2000s, dude. And they put a thing in there and they spent a little bit of voltage into the thing, and the chicken would start jumping around. I know. It wasn't my idea.
No, I know
just
you're not
thought it was a
endorsing it.
remarkable thing that still existed in the aughts. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
All right, so this is an intro, and I'm gonna sing, then there's gonna be a vamp while we have the announcing, and then we're gonna come back.
This is the river goes round thing?
Yeah, the river goes around thing, but
Just musically right now, not singing wise yet.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we'll try this thing out. In every life, some rain must fall, and you'll get wet as your sorrow calls. Oh, the sun will rise on a brand new morn. You'll be warm and dry and freshly born.
With support from Judith Robert and in the memory of our good friend Tom Kapazinskis, and with additional support from Marshall County Community Foundation, the First Source Bank, and the Indiana Arts Commission, and Mike and Cindy Boner. From historic downtown Plymouth, Indiana, where the Lincoln Highway and Michigan Road cross the banks of the beautiful Yellow River, it's the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. Tonight's show is brought to you as a tribute to the joys of solitude. For many, the experience of solitude can be the mental state that holds the key to developing a lifetime of creative work, functioning a bit like the Big Bang at the beginning of the universe. One's first experience of solitude can explode into a marvelous sense of unity with the entire cosmos. To quote William Wordsworth, I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. And speaking of the sprightly dance of creativity, we have with us today all the way from New York City two amazing musicians, John Ragusa and Hugh Poole. They combine the spirits of the wind and flutes with the majesty and grittiness of the slide guitar to create a jazzy Delta blues that will move your molecules. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the creative nexus they call Mulebone. Also tonight, we'll have a song from a local musician from South Bend, David Jameson. David will be performing an original song accompanied by our own Matt Scutchfield. In addition, we'll be reintroducing our game show, Shoot the Moon, involving two extremely fortunate members of our studio audience. And now, recorded live from the Wild Rose Moon Performing Arts Center in historic downtown Plymouth, Indiana, where the Art Deco Reese Theater is soon to enjoy its second lifetime of excitement and inspiration for the benefit of the local and regional community, here is the radical rascal of all things lunar, or lunatic, your radio hour host, George Schricker!
The river goes round, around the bend. The river goes round, round, round till the very end. And when it stops, woo, it starts again. It won't be long till the river goes round. It won't be long till the river goes round and round and round, my friend. Well, thank you so much. It's great to be back for another
Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. And Jacob, it's so good to have you with us today.
It's good to see you too, George.
And I love that shirt, man. You've got the spirit of summer right there with you.
Thank you. I like your shirt as well.
Well, thank you. And have you been dancing? That's what the number one question I wanted to ask. Are you a dancer?
No, but I do it anyway.
Oh, good. Same here.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing. Anyway, it's so great to have you, and great to have Matt Scutchfield filling in for John Baylor today. He's doing such a great job on the guitar, catching up. Give him a nice hand. And we are here with, we are so lucky today because we have people all the way from New York City. And it's a lovely, when anybody comes from New York, we just try to bask in the light. And so great. John Ragusa and Hugh Poole, thank you so much for coming to Wild Rose Moon Radio.
Thank you.
And I'm standing in the blue spot where I'm not supposed to stand. But anyway, so tell us, you both have interesting stories. I've been reading about Hugh's, and you have your own studio in Brooklyn, and in Greenpoint area,
North Brooklyn.
which isn't that far from the Heights.
A few miles.
Yeah, a few miles.
Greenpoint is the northernmost community in Brooklyn, right up
Right.
against the Newtown Creek, and then Queens is after that.
Yeah, I lived for about a year in the Heights.
Oh, did you?
Not in the Heights, but down from the Heights.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
on State Street.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so it was great. But tell me about your studio.
It's a recording studio that I became a partner in 23 years ago or something more than that, actually. And then we made a lot of records there. It's called Excello Recording.
Right.
And I recently had to, everything, stuff over the last maybe last decade in North Brooklyn has changed a great deal. People had houses that were worth $300,000 and they went to like $2 million.
Oh, yeah.
It just went so crazy. And so the studio we had in a warehouse for a long time, and then the warehouse became so valuable that the owners tore it down and turned it into luxury condominiums. And so we had a good relationship with them, but we had to move. And so relocating was hard because in that real estate climate, it was hard to relocate.
That would be
But we
very
did,
difficult.
and so it lives in a new location.
And you do a lot of analog stuff with the 2-inch tape.
Absolutely.
And I was reading all about
Splicing,
that.
razor blades and China markers and
Wow.
2-inch tape. We have computers and all that stuff too, but everybody that I've trained there, and the way that I learned, everybody knows how to use a tape machine and align it and do azimuth and splice with a razor blade.
Wow, I did that years ago.
Oh, did you?
But not in 2-inch, just back in
Quarter inch,
quarter
yeah.
inch, yeah.
That's a cool skill.
Yeah, it's a great skill. And you've worked with a lot of great people. My gosh, did I see that somebody, Wainwright, came through your studio?
Oh, both of them. I mean, not Loudon, but both of his kids, Martha and
Lucy?
what's the kid's name? What's the boy's name?
Rufus,
Rufus,
right,
yeah.
We were talking about him last
That's
night.
right. Does my bum look good in these jeans?
Yeah.
is what he asked me, and I was like, okay, sure.
Well, Hugh's worked with everybody from Debbie Harry to Taj Mahal to a bunch of great musicians through the years.
Yeah. Well, that is really exciting. And I saw you played on stage with a lot of people. Did you open, or were you playing around with Canned Heat at some point?
We did. I did a show with them in I played right before them at a big festival in Europe a few years ago, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and John, tell me a little about yourself. You were a flautist.
You can call me a flautist, but most people call me a flutist. But I don't care.
And can you tell me just exactly when did you start playing flute?
Well, I taught myself the flute when I was in high school, and I was a trumpet player, and I went to college for the trumpet. But I taught myself how to play the flute. The first song I ever played was a tune off of Jethro Tull's stand-up record. So everywhere I go, people ask me to play Jethro Tull. And at this point, all I have to do is just lift up a leg and play it. No matter what I play, if I do this, they're happy. But
doing your Ian
anyway,
Anderson.
the first tune I played actually was a remake that he did of a Bach Bourrée called Bourrée. I taught myself. I went to music school. I dropped out of music school to join the peace movement. I spent like 10 years out of a backpack and doing all sorts of kind of interesting stuff to try to, do my part.
Yeah.
And when I went back to school, I went back for the flute. So I became a flute major at 28 or 30 years old at an undergraduate school.
Wow.
I joined the women's swim team. I was a token male. It was great. And the first teacher I had, who happened to be an absolute genius, brilliant teacher under the tutelage of Julius Baker, who's one of the great famous, probably one of the truly great classical teachers of the 20th century. The first thing she said was, "Wow, I really like your sound, I like how you play. It's going to take you about 2 years to unlearn all the mistakes you've learned." and I put the time in.
Wow, is that great?
So that's where I'm at now. And now I'm feeling like, oh, I think I know how to, at least start to play this.
Well, will you both cut loose with something right now? Something?
Oh, we have
yeah,
to.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm a million miles from nowhere, looking for a place to sign my name. Well, I'm a million miles from nowhere, looking for a place to sign my name. I don't know much nothing to put my quarter in this game. Then I found me a woman, looking for a place to sign my name. Well, I found me a woman, looking for a place to sign my name. So in the eyes of God and man, my love would have honor and aim. To the mountain, wondering where I'll begin. And a voice come out of the distance, said, "Come back with your checkbook and your pen." Now a million miles from nowhere, looking for a place to sign my name. Yeah, I'm standing on the outside, looking for a place to sign my name. I didn't know that I could lose till I put my quarter in this game.
Yeah. Man. I needed that. Man. You're waking me up now. You're waking me up. That's great. So why the slide guitar?
I found this. I was at one of the first funny thing, when I moved to New York, one of the first tours that I ever did that was like got in a van was actually predictably after I moved to New York. And like the first gig was in my hometown, which is outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Right.
So, because of course we could book something. That's how we got it started, was by going back. And we were just going out for a couple of weeks in a Chevy Chevette with a trunk on the thing and on the roof with the gear in it. Anyway, and I was 20. And the first night, the amp I had was broke. And so I woke up in the morning and I was like, I got to get it fixed. And there was a place called Pizza Electronics. I'd never heard of it before. It was in Bellevue. They were open. I drove the amp out there. I explained that I had to play that night. The guy said, people that know, it's like knowing an old car. You don't need you don't need to get the manual out. It's like, yeah. Well, and he said, yeah, come back at 5 o'clock. And I came back at 5 o'clock, and the shop was in the guy's house. And as I was walking out, this guitar was hanging on a bench. His wife was cooking dinner. The TV was on. And I was walking out of the house, and this guitar had just come back from an auto body shop. It was painted gray, and it was hanging there looking kind of new. I knew it wasn't. And I said, what's the deal with that guitar? And he said, yeah. And I said, is it for sale? I said, yeah, $200. And I had like $60, and I gave it to him. And then I borrowed the rest of the money from my sister and came back with a hefty garbage bag and stuck it in there and walked out in the rain with the guitar. And I had no idea really about anything. I just thought it was cool.
Wow.
And but then of course I became acquainted with, you know, I'd seen pictures and stuff. I knew what it was, but I really had no idea. And
Tell me the
just-
vintage of that thing,
It
man.
just became part of me. This one's from 34. I have a few of them now, but this one's from 34.
1934.
Wow. And so when you first, I read in your bio that you didn't necessarily listen to this slide blues.
No, yeah, not
when you were in Pittsburgh, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I was always into, like, you know, I'm the youngest, so I have a sister that's 10 years older and a brother was dead, but whatever. He was 8 years older, and so I was hearing like Allman Brothers stuff I was a little bit too young for, you know.
Right.
But I was hearing it in the house, and so I just always kind of caught into this feeling of these songs that were, and then all of a sudden later on, the Grateful Dead, and you know, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, why is the band, the Allman Brothers and the Grateful Dead and this other band, Hot Tuna, why are they all doing the same song? And who in God's name is McKinley Morganfield or Chester Burnett or whatever?
Yeah.
And so then it was like, you know, I
That
realized
up,
that there
yeah.
was this, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I grew up on a farm, man. You know, it wasn't like something that was going to jump out in my way, you know, the world of blues music. But when I discovered it, I was like, oh, damn. And so then I just gravitated towards people that were into it, and I'd go through, you know, I carried, when I was traveling, I carried a box of blank cassettes with me, and if I was ever at somebody's house, people would be partying or whatever, and I'd be going through the record collection, and if I found like anything blues related, I'd put the tape on and like, hey man, cool, pick it up, great. I'd record the record while I was there, and so then I just built up a big tape collection of stuff.
That's
And,
great. That's great. You in just a process of falling in love.
Yeah, totally.
Slowly falling in love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk to John a little bit about, because I play just a little bit of bamboo flute, which transverse bamboo flute from
great.
China, and I find it so. Actually, I learned to play in Brooklyn because I, being a small town boy and transplanted to an area that was being gentrified, and I came from a very, you know, protected sort of background, and here I was in Brooklyn, and I was surrounded by a multicultural world for the first time in my life, really, and I was scared. Because it was a scary time. It was during Son of Sam.
76.
And
Yeah,
know, remember that time?
Yeah.
So, you know, but Bob Dylan's Desire had come out, and it was a gritty kind of time, and scary things happened all around me. And so I was trying to adjust to that, and the reason I picked up a flute was because it calmed me.
Beautiful.
It just, like, you know, it controls your breath. And I wanted to ask about that in terms of your breathing and a wind instrument. Seems to me like that's very connected to kind of, meditative states and interesting sorts of exploration in that.
Yeah, I can get with that completely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know, you build up your technique and your breathing, capacity. I have been a swimmer off and on most of my life, and the swimming at one point was very meditative and, very just a place of concentration, and the breathing is so central to that. And at that point, actually, when I mentioned the swim team in college, I was taking the lessons with this great teacher whose name was Wendy Stern. Shout out to her because she's a genius. And it was very consciously a connection at that point. The learning, the proper technique on the flute and breathing, and the swimming. I remember just getting into the groove, swimming a mile, like without even it's really truly getting like into a place of meditation.
Right.
And I mean, I've been off and on meditating all my life too. But that's a great connection. And speaking of wood flutes, you'll see I have a collection of them, including quite a few from India, quite a few American bamboo flutes, some fifes that are kind of like the vibe of like the Mississippi, fife and drum corps,
Right.
hill bands, that kind of thing, and some very crude ones. And some of my favorites are the crude ones because they're not necessarily perfectly in tune. They're not necessarily, that of a refined instrument, but you find some character and you have to kind of meet it where it's at and play something that's totally itself, totally unique. So I enjoy all sorts of flutes. You know, I love Native American flutes. I don't play them with our duo really. I mean, at some point I want to record something, but I think it would work well. But yeah, so a big yes to your
That's
insight.
great. Well, give us another one, will you?
All right.
I got a new morning in my heart. New morning in my heart. Yeah, and I've got problems as old as the hills. Seeing saints and demons and drinking from their still, but I got a new morning in my heart. Well, I got a ghost walking, a ghost talking in my ghost walking in my dreams. A ghost walking, a ghost talking in my ghost walking in my dreams. Yeah, he's creaking down this hallway, dropping seeds of bliss that bloom into life lessons with the water from your kiss. But I got a new morning in my heart. Well, I got a nest riding on my back. A nest riding on my back. And when there's a change in the winds and the rains don't come, I see the smiling faces of my daughter and my son. But I got a new morning in my heart. New morning in my heart.
So fine, so fine. Well, we're going to be back with John Ragusa and Hugh Poole, and up next we'll have David Jameson's going to come. One of our local songwriters is going to come up and share a song with us, and take us away, Matt.
With support from Judith Robert and in memory of our dear friend Tom Kabazinskis, and from the generosity of the Marshall County Community Foundation, the First Source Bank, Mike and Cindy Boner, and the Indiana Arts Commission, you're listening to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Well, welcome back to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. We're here with a special guest with us, David Jameson, and you. How'd you get in? Tell the story about how you got involved here, because you've just been recently coming in, and tell everybody the story about that.
Yeah, sure. So actually, my dad told me there was a concert, and he thought it might be in the kind of music I liked. So I came down for Melissa Carper a couple weeks ago.
Oh, that was something, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. It was a great show. They were very talented and loved the music they were playing. And also really loved the venue. It's such a small space. It's really intimate. You get to talk to the musicians, and you get to see what their fingers do on their instruments.
Yeah. And you're from Granger?
From South Bend.
South Bend. Okay, sorry. And what do you do something else, too? You're an engineer of some sort, right?
Yeah, that's true. I've worked in the energy industry for about 10 years.
Wow, that's interesting. And when did you first get involved with writing songs?
I was a very small child. I realized once I played piano.
Pocket size?
More like miniature, not quite a full adult, but a miniature adult.
Yeah.
Maybe when I was around 12.
Yeah.
I had learned the piano from maybe 6 or 8 years old.
Right.
And once I picked up the guitar, I learned 3 chords. I was like, I think this is all I need for a song.
Sure.
That was many years before I learned that country music is just 3 chords and the truth.
Right. Oh, there
so
you
I was
go.
onto something.
Yeah.
The first song I ever wrote, actually, I did with my dad. We rewrote the words when I was in 4th grade to "Last Kiss" by Pearl Jam.
Oh yeah.
Into something about saving the rainforest.
Wow.
So that was my first step into it, and from there I tried my own things just off and on, and started writing a lot more as I got older.
Now this song you're going to do for us, "Gone Like the Wind," is that the title? How did that get created?
Yeah. So I was writing a lot of music last year between March and July, and this song, I was thinking about a lot of different things, both in literature and movies, but also just my life. And I had just moved back to South Bend after living in large cities around the world for the last 10 years or so, and so this song was kind of about coming home.
Yeah.
And so, I wrote that into the song about moving from a big city to a smaller one. And, it's also kind of a more old-fashioned take on a modern concept called ghosting.
Right.
If you're under 30, you might have heard of it. Basically, if someone you're dating just disappears. And so this song is kind of evocative of that, but as if it happened in the 1800s.
Okay.
And it probably did, just we didn't have that name for it.
Right.
You just hop on a train and you're gone.
Yeah. So would you share the song with us? And thanks so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me. The song is called "Gone Like the Wind." I was never meant to live here in New York City. There's a longing in my soul for my home. I hold on on the banks of River City. So honey, that's where I'm gonna go. Honey, I'll be gone like the wind. Honey, I'll be gone like the wind. When you have a change of heart and you come back round again, honey, I'll be gone like the wind. Came here chasing dreams and money, trying to make the dowry you were owed. Day after day, I was putting cash away. But darling, no, I can't afford your soul. Your heart is hard like these northern winters, and lately, oh, I'm chilled to the bone. Miss the warm sunshine of River City. So honey, that's where I'm gonna go. Honey, I'll be gone like the wind. Honey, I'll be gone like the wind. When you have a change of heart and you come back round again, honey, I'll be gone like the wind. I'll be gone like the wind. Honey, I'll be gone like the wind. When you have a change of heart and you come back round again, honey, I'll be gone like the wind. Tomorrow there's a train from Union Station. Tomorrow I pack my things and go. When you come home to find no trace of me inside, oh honey, I'll be gone like the wind. Honey, I'll be gone like the wind. Honey, I'll be gone like the wind. Well, honey, don't you cry. We don't need no goodbyes. Honey, I'll be gone like the wind.
David Jameson, David Jameson. Matt Scutchfield on lead guitar. Thank you so much. Jacob, I think it's up to you now.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from our hometown to yours, the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour presents our very own audience participation quiz show, Shoot the Moon.
It doesn't matter to me how smart you are. Maybe you're a big buffoon. You don't need to be quick on the draw. All you gotta do is shoot the moon. Shoot the moon. Shoot the moon.
And now,
all right,
here's the host of Shoot the Moon, the man who failed his astronomical reviews and still somehow ended up on the moon, George Stricker.
Thank you so much. All right, we need to call up to our microphones right here, an Ann Maddox. Ann, if you would come up, and we have oh, look at this, and you know, I don't know how to spell Jennifer's last name. I don't know how to say it. What? Brathovdi. So yes, Jennifer, come on up. Brathovdi. All right. Get to play Shoot the Moon, and actually you and John are going to play right along with us, because all these questions are are directed at their biographies. So, so first I have to ask Anne, you are from Marion, Indiana, is that correct? You live in Marion right now. And do you have, why are you here? You're an artist, and you have work? Have a show right next door, so right after this show, they might be closed, right? Or are they still open?
I guess it's closed. I'm showing for the whole month.
Okay.
But today they had a reception, opening reception, and I gave a talk.
Right, and you're from England, I hear that in your accent. Where in
Yes.
England?
Kent, which was
Kent?
just below
Kent,
London.
like Rochester, where Rochester
Well,
is?
Rochester's in Kent, yes.
Yes, well, I know Rochester well. We have friends in Rochester,
Okay,
right.
good.
That's very good. And and you like bird watching?
Yes, right now I'm the chair of the local Audubon group.
That's great. Well, it's so nice to have you here. Thank you for being here. Okay. Jennifer, you are originally from Chicago, is that correct?
A suburb.
A suburb. And your occupation is?
I was a librarian, but now I'm retired.
You're retired.
About 5 years.
Okay. And you are a member of the Spirit of the Lake Sioux
Spirit Lake Sioux Nation
in North Dakota. Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. So nice to have you.
Thank you.
Have you ever played this game before? Have I coached you, or have you been told anything?
When you called her name, she went like this.
Oh, yeah.
I felt the same way when you called mine.
Well, I'm going to, since we first picked Anne out of the crowd, Anne, could you pick a subject here? You have pet names, big gig dig schnig, tracks in arrears, one Looney Tune.
Pet names.
Okay, pet names, okay. All right. And this is a question pertaining to John Ragusa. Okay. Okay. So, I'm in the square again. What is John's pet name for his bass flute? Don't give it away now. Is it Sparky for the way it reflects light on stage? Is it Lilith after the shapely demonic figure in Judeo-Christian mythology? Is it Terence the Deep for the Celtic maestro of sadness? Or is it all of above? Or is it none of the above, because John considers himself an agnostic in the ceremony of naming inanimate objects?
I'm going to say all of the above.
Well, I really like those names. I'm going to have to consider one of them, but none of them were the names. However, I do have a pet name for this flute, and Hugh actually dubbed it. And if you look at it carefully and you turn it upside down,
We call it the sink trap.
we called it the sink trap.
Well, that was worth the question. Oh, well done. Okay.
We were waiting for you to say D, sink trap.
Okay.
Get out of my head, man.
Okay, well, that would actually be my assistant, Katie Smith, here, who has written these questions. So we want to give her a big hand. Intern from Hope College. She's taking pictures today, too. Okay, Jennifer, what category would you like? Of course, we have one gone.
Her question was really delightful.
I know.
And clever.
Yes.
I'll take big, gig, dig, schnig, because I have no idea what it is.
Okay. Neither do I. Okay. All right, here it is. This is for Hugh, appropriately. Here we go. Hugh Poole. What has Hugh Poole been quoted as saying is his worst gig he's ever played? Was it in Sweden, playing outside in the frigid December air? That's the first one, A. B, the one where he was hunched over a guitar in a crowded bar with a broken rib. C, the one where he realized his feet were hurting. And D, the one where a child jumped on stage and broke his mic stand. It says A, in Sweden, B, hunched over the guitar, broken ribs, C, feet hurting, or D, the one where a child jumped on stage and
B
broke?
or D? Let's see. B.
No, it's C, the one where he realized his feet were hurting. And
Every one of those things happened. Every one of those. I played in December in Sweden, and I did play with broken ribs at the thing. Right, I fell off a tugboat, broke my ribs, and showed up to a gig soaking wet. All of that, everything you said, read, but that's for sure. It's C.
Yeah.
The first time I was playing a gig was right across the street from Madison Square Garden. The owner of Tramps was there, Terry Dunn. He was dancing. I was playing with this band. And I was the first time in my life I was sitting there and I was like, man, my feet hurt. And I thought, I've never been participated in music in any way ever in my life and thought about my feet hurting. Anything like that. Even watching stuff standing on concrete, and I thought, I think this gig must suck. Because, you know what I mean? Because I'm conscious of my feet hurting.
That would be it. So what is our score, by the way? Is anybody keeping score? Jacob, what was our score here?
So far, we have Anne with 0 points and Jennifer with 0 points.
Okay. You guys are...
Sure.
Okay.
Are you sure you're not cheating?
Anne, what would you... We have 2 left. What would you like?
Tracks in arrears.
Tracks in arrears. Okay. Here we go. And this is a Mulebone question. Okay. What New York City location did Mulebone record their first cassette release, which, by the way, sold hundreds of copies? Okay. Was it A, the corner of Bleecker Street and Mercy Street, capturing busy city noise as a background? B, Hugh's 1996 apartment, complete with the sound of sizzling bacon? C, John's 1996 Long Island house, integrating the sound of seagulls, during the recording of which Hugh fell in the ocean, microphone in hand? D, was it Hugh Poole's pool room, and the album included an intricate rhythmic track consisting of the sound of pool balls colliding?
I say A.
A? You think A? In your apartment. Maybe not. Was there bacon sizzling?
You can hear on the original one. You can hear a taxi cab go down at the beginning of one of the things.
I thought it was a truck.
It was like whatever it was.
Whatever.
It was something. It had it was a cobblestone street.
A cobblestone.
And the song was dying out at the beginning, and there's a
We hear it on the first record.
catalytic converter of somebody's thing dragging on the cobblestones going down the street.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
We got it out though somehow. We got it.
Oh, did you have something?
No, I was just going to say, after 25 years, we did in fact sell hundreds of copies.
Yes.
I
Okay.
like that.
All right.
No, of the cassette, because eventually it became a CD, and then we
Oh, okay. All right.
yeah, became famous. All right.
Okay. All right.
And here we are.
Right. Okay. So one last question, and I guess we better take it, huh?
Sure.
Here we go, Jennifer. Are you ready? Okay.
I don't know.
One Looney Tune. Which song is not on the track list for Mulebone's most recent album, Keep On Movin'? Was it A, Racket in My Head, B, Meet My Maker, C, Saw My Baby, D, Ain't No Price to Pay?
C.
Saw My Baby? Was that the one not on the track list?
That song is on the record.
Is that, would you know which one isn't?
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Which one is that?
What do you think?
Now you're in the hot seat.
A, Racket in My Head. So what's the score here?
Anne with 0 points and Jennifer with 0 points.
So what exactly does that mean?
Well, as a matter of fact, win or lose, everyone gets lucky on Shoot the Moon.
Yeah!
Both Anne and Jennifer have won a Sticker George, a big Wild Rose Moon sticker suitable for applying to one's forehead, Lamborghini, or backside.
There you go. Give them a nice hand, Anne and Jennifer. Thank you so much. Okay, and a little bit of music. Okay, thank you so much, Ann and Jennifer, and thank you, Jacob, and thank you, Matt. And we're going to be back with Hugh Poole, John Ragusa, for a little more music from the New York City-based band, Mulebone.
With support from Judith Robert, and in the memory of our dear friend Tom Kapazinskis, and from the generosity of the Marshall County Community Foundation, the First Source Bank, Mike and Cindy Boner, and the Indiana Arts Commission, you're listening to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Well, welcome back to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour. We're here with Mulebone, John Ragusa, and Hugh Poole, and they are spinning all kinds of yarns here about their colorful past. And John, I want to talk to you a little bit about Paul Horn.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
So he's given you a nice little plug. I saw you have a little quote from.
Yeah, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got a chance to hang out with him and play with him for a little bit.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, what was that like?
And at some point I came out with a little solo album, and I sent him a letter, and I said, any chance you can give me a little
Yeah.
a little write-up or something, quote I can use? And he said something nice. And but for those who don't know who Paul Horn is, he's a tremendously important person. He was started out in jazz and kind of a little bit after the bebop thing, and came out with some. Then he started getting influenced by some music from around the world. And one of his records called what's the name of it? Well, okay, I forget the name of the record, but it had a droney kind of thing that sounded a little like an Indian drone, like a tambura. And next thing you know, he went to India and brought his alto flute and his regular flute and went into the Taj Mahal and bribed the guy who's the guard and had a little portable tape player and recorded an entire album inside the Taj Mahal, and it was called Inside.
That's the first one I heard.
Yeah. And Paul Horn's album Inside was and still is the biggest selling, most important, really influential album in the quote unquote new age world music kind of movement.
Right.
That whole thing now has gone into so many different areas, but Paul just basically played the flute inside the Taj Mahal that had a 12-second echo, and he's a sort of a spiritually inclined guy, and he was really both inside the Taj Mahal and inside his mind, his spirit, and he projected that to the world, and it caught fire, and it influenced me tremendously. I have like three, four, as everybody in music does. We have 2 or 3, 4 really important touchstones that have influenced us, and Paul Horn was it for me, like initially. And anyway, I was very fortunate to have an encounter with him and get to know him. He's since died. You look him up, check it out. And he went around and did some more insides. He went inside the Great Pyramids. I mean, not too many people can record an album inside the pyramid.
Right.
He did.
Right.
So it's pretty cool.
That's great. Well, before we get back to Hugh, why don't you give us both a song? Would you give us another song?
I think we can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Which one? Sure.
scoop you up and snatch you and toe that line. There'll be somebody who will. To that line, to that line, to that line. There'll be somebody who will. To that line, there'll be somebody who will. Well, no, here we go, spend an hour here before we made a solid promise not to do it again. Sure enough was enough. I hear my stuff out in the rubber, John, I stumbled upon it when he was marching in. To that line, old man, come and get you. To that line, when you post and bail. To that line, I'm gonna scoop you up and snatch you until that line, there'll be somebody who will. To that line, to that line, to that line, there'll be somebody who will. To that line, there'll be somebody who will. Well, compliance is preached with both fists. You can live in defiance, but you sleep in the ditch. Take a look around, tell me what do y'all see? Is this your daddy's dream about democracy? To that line, old man, come and get you. To that line, on your post and bail. To that line, I'm gonna scoop you up and snatch you until that line, there'll be somebody who will. To that line, to that line, to that line, there'll be somebody who will. To that line, there'll be somebody who will. Well, our oil is spilling out into the oceans, money spilling into the bankers' hands. Trust is run out on the horizon, but the message is received. Take what you can. To that line, old man, come and get you. To that line, when you post and bail. To that line, I'm gonna scoop you up and snatch you. And to that line, there's somebody who will. To that line, to that line, to that line, there's somebody who will. To that line, there's somebody who will. Well, no, here we go, spent an hour here before, made a solid promise not to do it again. Sure enough, was enough. My him was stuff out in the rubber, John stumbled upon it when he was marching in. To that line, old man, come and get you. To that line, when you post and bail. To that line, we're gonna scoop you up and snatch you. And to that line, there'll be somebody who will. To that line, old man, come and get you. To that line, when you post and bail. To that line, we're gonna scoop you up and snatch you. And to that line, there'll be somebody who will. To that line, to that line. To that line, the best buddy will. To that line, the best buddy will. To that line, the best buddy will. To that line, the best buddy will.
Man, I'm getting all juiced up, man. That's great. Hey, Hugh, I want to talk to you about, because I love this interview that, and I'm trying to think who did this. Who is JG who interviewed you? Do you know where this interview came out of?
I don't know what it is.
Oh, here it is. Here's this one. This one right there.
From the top?
Yeah. This was an interview that was done with you in a magazine. I want to give a credit.
No, this is,
I want to give a credit, but
this is that's crazy. This is from a paper. Yeah, this is written by a guy named Jack Race.
Yeah. I wanted to give him credit for
the Brooklyn Star Review or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that
It was
like,
great, and I like what you were talking about in terms of New York. You came to New York City, and you were talking about some of your influences, some of mine as well. Interesting, Walt Whitman and Allen Ginsberg, Saul Bellow, Bob Dylan, the Ramones, Blondie, the Talking Heads, that whole thing. But you were making the distinction about how, you were saying New York is thought of as the financial nexus, but what for you was it was just important to be part of that creative juice that was there, and you can really feel it, when you go there.
Yeah, I mean, but at that, I had no consciousness of the financial nexus aspect of it. Or okay, that's not true. But the whole thing was, in the early 1980s was just completely overshadowed by this emerging, Andy Warhol and whatever, and the Philip Glass and Warhol and the Talking Heads and Debbie Harry and CBGBs and Woody Guthrie and David Folk City and all that stuff. All were just like some kind of crazy, cool art music thing that was just happening there.
Yeah.
And I think probably the total sweet spot for it was probably like 1982, 1983. Yeah. I got there in 85. So Saul Bellow was still living on the Upper West Side, and when I read his later novels and he talks about stuff, I think to myself, damn, I was there.
Sure.
And it makes me feel great. that I just got right at the end of that little period. I feel like
that little moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of shifted then. You know, everybody's attention shifted to the Pacific Northwest around 1990. Nirvana
New York
kind of
is
blew stuff
interesting
up.
that way. These little shifts that go.
Yeah. But it was for so long. You were talking about being so
Oh, that was 75.
Right. But
and man, that was a whole different
But from
thing.
that period to like
Yeah.
that, from 75 to 85, it was just
Oh
like.
yeah. Dylan was in the Village.
And you could still live there for $300. You could still
Yeah,
share an
yeah,
apartment
yeah,
for
right.
$300 a month,
Yeah,
man.
I was.
And there were no cell phones, no internet connection. There was nothing you were expected to have.
Yeah. Yeah, I was living in a brownstone. It was a bunch of people just pooling their money and living in the brownstone together.
Yeah, I always had a share. I always had a cool share for $300, $325.
Yeah, yeah,
Easy. No problem.
Right, right. It was a great time to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Allen Ginsberg in the Village. I saw him
was at a
couple
party
of
with him.
times.
Yeah, I was at a party.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we were at the same party. No, we couldn't have been.
And with it
Different
was
time.
crazy. It was with him and what's his name, Alan Lomax.
Yeah.
I met this lady when I went to Hunter College, and my parents.
Hunter
I made a deal with my parents, and they said they didn't want me to go. As I was 20, and a family friend of ours kind of brokered a deal between me and my folks, and they said if he enrolls in college and he pays his tuition and he goes full time, we'll send you $300 a month. Is what my parents said.
Yeah.
So I was playing in the subway to make money. Always found a cheap place and scrounged around for food. But I enrolled in school, and I met this lady at Hunter College. This old lady. It was kind of like almost like a Harold Lamont. It was freaking me out for a minute because I kept on going in. I'd play in the subway in the morning and then go to this poetry class, and this old lady was like literally passing me notes, and I was just kind of like, what is it? And then after a while, I talked to her, and she turned out that she was married to Nick Ray, the guy that produced Rebel Without a Cause, and what a Next Stop Greenwich Village, and she was friends with Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger and all this stuff. And through her, I found myself, at a party on the Upper West Side with Allen Ginsberg, John Lomax, the guy that what's his name, Paul, the guy that wrote, The Ink is White, The Ink is Black, and the Ballad of Joe Hill, not Paul Robeson, but anyhow.
Yeah.
But so I was sitting amongst these people, kind of like, wow.
Yeah, it's a great place for
trading the guitar, playing the guitar, trading the guitar around.
Oh man,
talking about Jack Kerouac and stuff.
Yeah, sure. Also, Richie Hammons.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I saw Richie in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's gone too, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's sad.
The first gig when I went to college before I got kicked out, I went to a place called Hartwick College in Oneonta, New York, and they had the Spring Fest, and Richie Hammons was the headline guy, and they got me to open for him. So that was my first I opened for Richie Hammons,
Yeah, but it's interesting that the work that you're doing together here is channeling some of that soul that I feel coming out of people like that.
Yeah.
I mean, your heritage runs deep, and you can really feel it in your music, can't you? Can't you? It's just amazing, just amazing. Okay, let's have another one, huh? Let's have another one.
I think we can do that. All right.
In this tuning, How Can You Love Me? How Can You Love Me?
Oh, sure.
Just because it's in this tuning.
All right.
This tune, I won't say too much about too much, but John is directly responsible for this song, even though he didn't, sit down and write the words with me. I had this little thing that was real, it sounded like an old-time blues thing, and the lyrics that I've had it for years, but when I sat down to write the song, the first line that I wrote was, how can you love me, baby, when I can't even love myself? And I thought, God, that is so pathetic. And so I just every time I sit down, I was like, oh, this sucks. And I played it for John when we were trying to put material together for a record we were making a few years ago. And he goes, that's a great first line. And I was like, really? And sometimes that's all it takes. How can you love me, baby, when I can't even love myself? I don't want to see my world with anybody else. How can you love me when I can't even love myself? But I don't want to share my world with anybody else. Well, I've got a secret, carry it to my grave. I whistle it in the moonlight as the carriage rolls away. I got a secret and I carry it to my grave. Oh, I got a secret and it's driving you away. It's hard to live here, baby, with everybody's dreams smoking up the windows like a factory full of steam. It's hard to live here with everybody's dreams. Oh, they smoke a lot of oil, but from the outside they look clean. So I head out on the highway where I just don't know. I'm gonna empty out my head of other people's woes. I'm going to the Northland where the weather makes you real. I'm gonna go away forever, baby. I'm just trying to make a deal. Yeah, how can you love me, baby? Well, I can't even love myself, but I don't want to share my world with anybody else. Put your arms around me like you ain't never done. Help drive away this feeling like the setting of the sun.
Hugh Poole, John Ragusa, Mulebone, what amazing, amazing, just wonderful, wonderful blessing you are to us. And thank you so much for coming to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Thank you, everybody.
And we look forward to the performance tonight.
Thanks
Boy,
for
that's
having us,
gonna be
everybody. Thanks
exciting.
for being here.
That's just been terrific work. Will you take us home?
With support from Judith Robert, and in the memory of our good friend Tom Kabazinskis, and with additional support from Marshall County Community Foundation and the First Source Bank, Mike and Cindy Boner, the Indiana Arts Commission, you've been listening to the Wild Rose Moon Radio Hour.
Well, thank you, Jacob Marino, John Baylor, our music producer, and Matt Scutchfield for sitting in. Thank you so much for John Ragusa and Hugh Poole for pooling their musical talents and uplifting our world. And David Jameson for his beautiful song. Thanks to Nate Butler for his live mixing and recording and editing of our show. And thanks to Howard Gibbs, our stage manager, Marcia Heitzberger, Jennifer Reed, Pam Gunterman, and Cindy Boner, our sparkling hospitality team, Dan Schubert for his therapy skills, and Michelle Schricker for applause skills and her undying support of the Moon, its mission, and me. Also a big special thanks to Jim Yoakum, who's back there in our production room, turning our sound stages into 4-camera production studios, and a big thanks to our very productive interns from Hope College and Purdue University, respectively, Katie Smith and Allie Mangus. Are you ready, Matt?
I sure am.
So when you think you've lost that life, oh, pain and heartache fill your soul with strife. Just remember, as you're tumbling down, it won't be long till the river comes round. River goes round, around the bend. The river goes round, round, round till the very end. And when it stops, it starts again. It won't be long till the river goes round. Take it.
round, round, round till the very end. And when it stops, woo, it starts again. It won't be long till the river goes round. It won't be long till the river goes round and round and round, my friends. Yes, sir, Ray. How about these guys? Give it up for them. Man, unbelievable, unbelievable. Okay, well, thank you so much for, well, let's find out from Nate. You got anything?
Nothing but love.
All right. You guys are going to do a tag later after
Thanks,
everybody
Jordan.
leaves. Okay, thank you so much. And thank you, audience. You were terrific. Just terrific. Thank you.
Best
so
audience
much.
we've had all week. The best audience we've had all week.
The only audience.
All right. Thank you, everybody.